All right, thank you guys for joining us for this morning's call with Tom DeLuca. Since there are only three of you for now, I'll just kind of circle through you guys and let you guys ask questions, and then when more people hop on, we'll start to raise hand. We'll start with Andrew Clay. Yes. Andrew.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. My audio was twigging out there for a second. Defensively, this has been a really interesting start to the season. There's some bend but don't break aspects, but overall, it's been a good start. How do you kind of judge where you guys are at after having to learn a new season? Do you guys feel you've progressed as far as you'd like to in the four games we've played?
Yeah, I feel like we've been playing really well. Coach Diaz emphasizes on stopping the run a lot, so that's mainly what we try to do, and just try to keep to the game plan and execute everything he tells us to do.
Daniel Gallen.
What's the season been like for you? Working in, getting some more run with the defense. What do you feel like has kind of led up to this point? And how has it been to be out there on Saturdays with a role?
I mean, it's a great feeling. I'm blessed for the opportunity, and I'm very appreciative of it. Coach Franklin trusted me, Coach Diaz trusted me, and getting me time on defense and learning from John Sutherland, a 6-year vet. There's no better way to learn than learn from that guy right there.
Donnie Collins.
Tom, I was going to ask you about Sutherland because I guess I know he's a guy you go to quite a bit. What's his leadership style? How has he kind of been a teacher to you?
He's been holding everyone in the linebacker room accountable, making sure we're all on our A game 24/7, watching film, breaking down film, and asking questions when we need to. And he's been a really big guy that I've been coming to for questions. If hey, how do you break down this? Like, how do you notice certain keys from the offense and certain ways to play this coming at you? And he's been helping me a lot with that, and it's been helping me a lot on the field too.
Andrew Clay.
Yeah, talking about Sutherland, it wasn't even 6 months ago, 9 months ago, he was converting kind of over to linebacker. How do you feel he has grabbed hold of the position and understood and transitioned out of safety?
He transitioned very well. He understands everything from gap schemes to fitting up the run and everything like that. I mean, he did a little bit of that with Coach Pry here. He'll flip back and forth, but him being there 24/7, he took that job seriously, and he's taking control a lot on the defense from that spot.
Daniel Gallen.
Dom, coming in as a walk-on, what was kind of your mindset, and how do you feel like you've been able to work your way to this point?
Well, I knew I just needed to get my spot on the team, and I would be able to prove to them that I belong here with everyone else. And I felt like being on D squad last year, going up against Tyler Warren, Brenton Strange, Theo Johnson, they made me better. I took it upon myself to make sure they were game ready each week, and that made me better as a person and as a football player. And that really put me into a position to where I am right now.
Donnie Collins.
Jonathan made the transition that you're making ahead of you. How much does that help you kind of to have him as that model?
A lot, because the same things that I struggled with, like he said he struggled with at first, and going to him as a helpful mentor made everything a lot easier, just from reading film, reading the gap schemes. That was my big problem when I first got there, but now I got it all locked down, just asking questions.
Andrew Clay.
One thing we heard from Joey Porter Jr. this morning was he talked about the different approach to film study this season. Has film changed for the linebackers as well?
I wouldn't say it changed, but we look at it a little differently, just like identifying the formation and identifying what plays come from each formation, really.
Daniel Gallen.
Was there a moment where you felt like things kind of clicked for you in terms of making the jump into the rotation and being able to carve out a role there? Was there something on D squad last year, or a moment where you kind of felt things kicking into gear, I guess?
I would say fall camp and spring ball last spring. I mean, learning from everyone, Curtis Jacobs, him helping me from he used to be Sam last year, so I would always ask him questions, and he's been helping me a lot recently as well. And I feel like just the way I approached fall camp also was big for me, and made sure I was prepared for week one.
Donnie Collins.
What's the camaraderie like with the D squad? I imagine it's very competitive, but do you guys kind of have a special mind? You have to have a special mindset, I would guess, to be in that group.
Yeah, it's a hardworking group for sure, and I give them all the credit. It's not an easy job at all, and Coach Franklin always pushes on us that we're competing for our spot as well too. Like being on D squad, you're going against our ones and our best players, our offense, and you're trying to make them better and making them make sure they're game prepared, and that's making all of us better. And I know a lot of people are taking it that way.
Andrew Clay.
You said the same thing Joey said about film study. Is there more emphasis this year on understanding what the other team is doing than in years past?
Coach Diaz emphasizes a lot on identifying the formation pre-snap and what plays that come from it and how to approach each way and expect what to come at you and where it's coming from. So I would say, I'm sorry about that. Coach Diaz really prepared us that way, identifying formations and what plays that come from it.
Daniel Gallen.
Dom, when you talk about kind of changing your approach for fall camp this year, what was different about it, or I guess what led to having things be a little bit different for you?
My first fall camp, I got not that many reps, so I mean, I was in the playbook, but I wasn't in it how I should have been, and it took me a little bit to get used to it. But I ended up learning the playbook pretty well and getting my reps. But this fall, I knew I was going to be a 2 with 1 or 2 with South, and I knew I had a battle, so I took it to heart. Got into the playbook 24/7, kept my head down, played my game, and just kept on trying to make a name for myself.
Donnie Collins.
I asked Tyler after a game a couple of weeks ago about you, and he said you're one of the hardest workers on the team. Do you see it that way? And how much has hard work in your mind changed being a college player than it was being a high school player?
The hard work has changed a lot from being high school to college. Like I'm putting in more film hours than I did in high school, more time on the field, more time after practice, putting in like extra work with others as well. I mean, I really just took it as like if I really want to play and I really want to make a name for myself, I got to do all these little things. And Coach Franklin emphasizes that a lot, and making sure that we're all on our P's and Q's.
John Petishma.
Yeah, hey Dom. Hey, I jumped on late, so I hope I'm not asking you something that you haven't already talked about. But just taking on an increased role this season, how do you think you've handled that so far? And just kind of how do you feel about your progress so far through the first 4 games?
I feel like I've handled it pretty well. Getting into film a lot. I mean, that was one huge thing for me. Just like identifying everything that each team's going to throw at us each week, asking a bunch of questions to Coach Diaz, to the other linebackers in the room, Elsden, Sutherland, Jacobs. And we all talk about it all the time. We just keep on trying to keep each other on the same page, really, on what we see and how we identify stuff.
One more round of questions. Andrew Clay.
Dom, you guys have given up a fair amount of yards still on defense. Third downs have been an issue at times. Is that something we asked Coach Diaz before the season? The whole Steph Curry, he's going to get 30, just don't let him get 40 kind of thing. Is there kind of an understanding that your aggressive play style is going to result in other teams moving the ball a little bit, but that the end goal is hopefully to turn them over at the end?
So, yeah, we have been having that third down and long issue, but I think we've handled it very well each week, getting better and better at it. Coach Diaz keeps on putting a new game plan for us to excel more at that spot of the game, and he's been making sure we're prepared, and hopefully we will be these coming weeks.
Daniel Gallen.
Dom, we've heard a lot about Abdul Carter early this year, coming in as a freshman, making an impact. What was kind of your first impression of him? What was kind of like the play that you saw him make that, kind of let you know what type of player he was, and what's it been like watching him come along early this year?
I mean, some of the drills in the summer, I was watching this kid move, and freak athlete. Like he was moving crazy and he was moving fast. Then even on the field, I'm pretty sure it was it was Auburn. I think it was like a throw to the flat, and I was coming up to make the tackle with the rally to it, and he just came out of nowhere and made the tackle and put the guy on his back. I was like, wow, was not expecting that. Like Abdul, he's taking this job very seriously, and he's making the most of it, and he's playing very well right now, and I love the way he's playing.
Donnie Collins.
Coach Franklin has talked a couple times this year about the Friday nights at the hotel with the shares from members of the staff, players, things like that. How important are they to you to hear that? And what do they do for the team from a competitive standpoint, emotional standpoint, and things like that?
I mean, really just hearing where everyone came from and hearing everyone's story, it's a real eye opener for most people. And it's very interesting to hear and see what everyone went through and how they got there, and that everyone's story is different, really. Like we all have our own stories coming here to Penn State and making our name for ourselves. And it's really huge hearing other people's. It just makes you want to work harder.
Last question, John Petishnock.
Hey, Dom, interested to get your thoughts on Dan Connor being back with the program, all-time leading tackler with the program as a defensive analyst. How much time have you been able to spend around him, and what insights has he gleaned into your game a little bit, if any?
He's a huge resource. He knows the game very well, knows how to break down film, knows how to identify a lot of different formations and what's going to come from each formation. And he's a great resource we have in the linebacker room, and very happy to have him there.